Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 18 of the Giro d'Italia 2024. Today's race brought to you by Bicycle, the largest global marketplace for pre-owned bikes. With over 20,000 high-quality pre-owned and refurbished bikes available, Bicycle connects the buyers and sellers to make the process of buying and selling bikes safe, easy, and convenient. Sellers, remember to use the code ButterflyEffect24 for 0% seller fee. Now let's get into today's stage 18. At 170 kilometers, we'll call it, about 110 miles in length. It's going to be one for the sprinters because they only have one category for at the beginning of the race. Small climb, not super difficult. But the sprinters, when we look at some of the interviews there from Johnny Milan, he says we got to keep it under control up the first climb. After that, we're going to make it a sprint here. And we'll see Gaviria from Movistar, the other sprinter. He says it's going to be a sprint stage 2, so you know for sure it's going to be a sprint stage. But when the peloton hits kilometer 0, we'll start seeing some attacks right away. And it'll take, once we get onto the climb, where we see 4 riders going up the road. Maestri's up there from Cometa Polti. His teammate up there, Posterbone, is there. Then we're going to see Michael Honore from EF Education and Ferrelli from Bardiani. These 4 riders, they're not going to be given much time. It's going to be a bit of a sleeper on the first part of this stage 18 of the Giro d'Italia because the gap is being held by 3 teams in the back. Two-Door Cycling's back there, Trek is pulling on the front, and Pseudo Quickstep's Peter Siri. Now, if we look at the Trek rider pulling on the front, that's Juan Pedro Lopez. Normally, Juan Pedro Lopez is their GC rider, but he hasn't been on great form. So we start seeing a switch here of some of the tactical racing for Lidl Trek as they have Juan Pedro Lopez on the front. That means they have the Eritrean Gebrek Xavier resting in the back. Now, if you guys have been watching closely here at the Giro d'Italia, you know Gebrek Xavier throughout the 24 season and here at the Giro d'Italia, he's been really strong. So once I see the switch in chemistry here where they're saving Gebrek Xavier, I'm like, ooh, that means Lidl Trek have one more rider up there to start helping in the lead out when we come into the finish of this stage 18 here of the Giro d'Italia. Now, as we're going through the stage, the 4 breakaway riders, really most interesting thing was Maestri having some problems getting the shoe covers off, where he's trying to pull his Velotos shoe covers. They're all made out of rubber. There's no zipper on them. And so when he's trying to pull them and stretch them, he's trying to break it. Just go over to your car right there, Maestri. As you see, your mechanic is going to cut it with the scissors right there, and then you get back to work. But there's no time to stop at the McDonald's on the side of the road for a lunch break because the 3 teams behind, they've been holding the gap at about a minute throughout this whole stage, at times getting down to 30 seconds even. Now, we get into 60 kilometers to go. There's going to be attack from Affini there, Eduardo Affini from Visma Lease bike as he bridges across to the 4 leaders in front. Now it makes 5 guys. Now we start seeing the teams back there, still same teams, Two-Door Cycling, Pseudo Quickstep, and Lidl back there chasing full gas. But now we start seeing a little bit of help as Baggioli, who's been switching off a bit of time throughout this stage with his used to be GC rider, Juan Pedro Lopez. Now we see both those riders rotating on the front. So we got 4 guys on the front of the peloton chasing the 5 up the road, being held at about 15 seconds. Things start getting interesting. If you want to pay attention to the race, you definitely want to tune in at 25 kilometers to go. This is when we start seeing the field back there start going curb to curb. The breakaway of 5 riders now with the joining there of Affini. Now they're still holding only about 15 seconds. We see it start coming down and they'll get wrapped up with 10 kilometers to go. Now right after 10 kilometers to go, that's when it starts getting nervous and we see the peloton head into that hard 180-degree turn almost right there. And we'll see that Gebrek Xavier is at the back of the peloton. I was a little perplexed by this because that means 3 Lidl Trek riders are off the back now because 2 were working. Juan Pedro Lopez, Baggioli was working. Now we see Gebrek Xavier at the back. I'm sure the management told Gebrek Xavier, hey, save your form, try to get in the breakaway on tomorrow's stage 19 here at the Giro d'Italia. But when you have Johnny Milan on your team, I don't know if that's a good strategy because this whole course, it's a little bit technical coming in the finish, but it's not hard rights and lefts turns that are 190-degree angles and narrow roads and stuff like we've seen on some of the other finishes. And so I'm start asking myself when I see Dan Uhl on the front of the peloton, and he's working from 10 kilometers from that 180-degree turn all the way up until about 6.6 kilometers go. Dan Uhl will be working a ton on the front. And if I took you back to stage 13 where we saw Johnny Milan win the stage, was Dan Uhl at 2.5 kilometers that did an amazing job of dropping back and getting his teammates. then putting him in a fabulous position. Now, before we get into 6.6 kilometers, though, we hit about 8 kilometers to go. Ineos are driving it on the front, and look at the back there. That's our Insman having some problems. We're going to see Magnus Sheffield, the American rider, he's going to bump hard on the left shoulder there, the right shoulder of the Alpecin de Koenig riding Caden Groves, and as he's pushing around, it's our Insman dropping back like a rock because he's got a flat tire. Now we'll see Magnus Sheffield go right around our Insman, and then we see one of the Swift brothers there, I believe it's Connor, go right around our Insman too, and our Insman goes out the back. Now our Insman's back there and he's got a rear flat. You can see it low in the back. We don't see the mechanic changing it, but later we're going to see him chasing in the car. The problem I have here is you look at the front of the peloton, it's Filippo Ganna going full gas on the front of the peloton. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I don't understand. Our Insman's 6th on the general classification, only 3 minutes back from Geraint Thomas. We've seen Geraint Thomas have some little bit of off days. We haven't really seen our Insman have too much of an off day, with the exception of that stage 1 and 2. And then yesterday, he was riding the front for Geraint Thomas. So when I'm looking here at our Insman being left without any teammates, and he didn't switch bikes with a teammate, which he should have done, because a wise veteran would have known to just switch bikes right away with your teammates, but none of them waited. When we start looking at him chasing back there in the caravan, we see Narvaez eventually drop back, and he's towing our Insman back up to the front. Now look over to the right of the picture that's going to pop up on the screen right now. Well, that's Alpecin de Koenig rider that's got an issue there. I don't know who it is because it doesn't show it, but his car's braking behind him, and the Shimano car is braking. Look at the suspension. The front wheels are compressing all the way on the fender there, so you know the car's braking hard. Then it swerves over to the left, and it's about ready to take out our Insman. It misses our Insman as he holds his bike and kind of angles it a little bit to the left. Then he looks back and waves his hand, and he's starting to be a little upset with the Shimano car. Okay, this is a little bit complicated for the Shimano car to see what's coming up in front, but if you want to look at it and back the film up one more time, look there at Narvaez right through the caravan of cars there, as we see Narvaez has a front view of the rider Alpecin de Koenig that's pulling over to the side. Now he might not be able to catch on right now because he's going 100% that the Alpecin de Koenig car is going to hit the brakes and then the Shimano car is going to hit the brakes, but he moves a little bit from the center of the road, a little bit to the right of the road, and then the Shimano car is moving a little bit to the left of the road. That's what's going to make this almost a catastrophic accident right here. But as I already told you, our Insman pulls it out and just throws a little argument back down the Shimano car. I think it was just one of those things that happened, is a tornado where multiple things came together at the right or wrong moment, depending on how you want to look at it, and our Insman ended up saving it out, so no harm, no damage. Now our Insman's going to go up to the front, but as he's coming to the back of the peloton, we're going to see Dan Uhl, he pulls off. That's 6.6 kilometers to go. As our Insman gets back to the peloton, we go back up to the front. Ganna's still pulling on the front with about 5 kilometers to go. Now, he's going to pull off shortly after that. We're going to see 2 Ineos riders on the right side. Geraint Thomas still in good position. And things are starting to get chaos right here in the peloton on stage 18, as things are going to start getting super interesting. Now, we start looking back at Lidl Trek. His teammate Stuyven started hitting up because they were getting a little bit blocked in. So he started moving up forward with Johnny Milan just a couple wheels behind him. But we see Simone Consoni back there, the main lead-out guy, the last lead-out guy for Johnny Milan. He's getting pinched off, and as he's getting pinched off, he's yelling, "Wait, guys, wait!" He'll slow down and move over to the left, and he'll come back up and join his Trek guys up at the front. Now, let's go into about 3.2 kilometers to go as we see Julian Alaphilippe flying up the right side there in the gutter. Look at the mom holding her kid right in front of her in the street. She's not far in the street, but she's too far because she's not on the curb. As she's there in the gutter there with her son's feet sitting out in the street, standing up, we're going to see Julian Alaphilippe come flying right by her as she leans back with her boy, and Julian Alaphilippe takes the front of the peloton. Now, at this moment, Julian Alaphilippe, this isn't really doing any good. It's 3.5 kilometers to go. It's Alpecin de Koenig on your wheel. You know it. I know it. I'm watching it from the aerial view, and Julian Alaphilippe's looking at it because he looked back. As he looked back, he still keeps riding on the front. He's got control of the peloton. For what reason? I don't really know, because his teammates are still back there behind the Alpecin de Koenig riders. And right now, Julian Alaphilippe's really just doing the lead out for the other sprinter teams, Alpecin de Koenig on his wheel. He'll go into about 2.5 kilometers to go. Now we're going to go into about 1.9 where we see Two-Door Cycling start taking over the front of the peloton. That, if I back the film up, I'll show you as they were passing, coming through the left side of the peloton, about kilometer, a few hundred meters back there, they're passing the peloton on the left. Now it's 1.9. Matteo Trentin used to ride for UAE team members, Tadej Pogacar, but now he's riding for the Swiss team. He's going full gas, left side of the road with 1.9 kilometers to go, and he's got Robin on his wheel, and then he's got a sprinter, Alberto Danesi. Danesi's won stages here at the Giro d'Italia in field sprints, so Matteo Trentin's throwing everything into the pedals at this moment. He's going to go all the way into about 1.3 kilometers to go as Matteo Trentin starts to blow. Now let's back the film up to 1.5, because at 1.5 we see Ed Toons coming back up to his Lidl Trek teammates up there with Stuyvens, Consoni, and Johnny Milan. Where was Ed Toons? If I back the film up a little bit further, Ed Toons had gotten pinched off somewhere around 3.5 kilometers to go. So Trek's getting in big time problems because Ed Toons for a kilometer and a half has been working his way all the way back up to the front, but Stuyvens has done a magical job of putting Lidl's Trek, Simone Consoni, and Johnny Milan in a good position. We see Ed Toons come to the front. As he's driving it on the front, Robin is on the front of the peloton, and we're coming into the first left turn here with 900 meters to go. As the left turn's starting to come, the riders are setting up by swinging hard to the right. Once they swing hard to the right, that's when we see Johnny Milan get pinched off. He's sitting about 15th position, and he's getting pinched by the Movistar riders coming over from the inside of the turn on the left side, going into this left turn. That's going to put Johnny Milan back there in 15th, 20th position. And we'll see up front that Lidl Trek riders, Ed Toons and Simone Consoni, have made it in behind the two-door cycling riders up there from Robin and Alberto Danesi. Robin is doing a fabulous job. He's drilling it on the front. Then we're coming into the next left with about 700 meters to go. Ed Toons has got the front of the peloton now as they exit this left turn. But we start seeing there Simone Consoni, he starts realizing that Johnny Milan is no longer on his wheel, and Johnny Milan's stuck in the back. And once Ed Toons is on the front, we see that Simone Consoni's yelling in the radio, got his arm up, telling him to stop pulling. And we look behind him, what's happening? Well, we'll see a bunch of lead-out guys and a couple sprinters, because Alberto Danesi is still up there, sitting just behind Simone Consoni in third, fourth position. Then we look behind him, and it's lead-out guys. Chimolai is the lead-out guy from Movistar. Rui Oliveira is a lead-out guy there for Milano from UAE Team Emirates. Then we look at the sprinters. Well, there's the Cofidis sprinter in there, Annie Olakowski there. And that guy right there, that's Hugo Hofstetter. Let's back the film up. How did Hugo Hofstetter get here? Well, we back it all the way up to that first 900 left turn there, coming under 1K to go. He was behind Johnny Milan, and he's been flying up the right side. So now he's coming up as the Lidl Trek riders and the lead-out guys are all looking back at the same time. Take a look at this picture as we see Ed Toons looking back, we see Chimolai looking back, and we see Rui Oliveira looking back right now. We got about 400 meters to go on stage 18. Now, Hugo Hofstetter realizes that he doesn't need to look back. Alberto Danesi knows he doesn't have to look back because he's a sprinter. And Caden Groves, who's up there just behind Alberto Danesi, he knows he doesn't have to look back because he's a sprinter too. There's nobody to look back for. So we'll see Hugo Hofstetter hit onto the acceleration button at about 250 meters to go. He's going with everything because he knows he's jumping a little bit early, so he better be good. And guys, there's no way he can be good. That's because he's been going since 900 meters all the way further back there, but before Johnny Milan even got pinched off. So he's been going full gas, and Johnny Milan had been sitting back there in the draft. Now it's Hugo Hofstetter on the accelerator. He's going in about 200 meters to go, and Johnny Milan started his sprint going up the left. Tim Miller, pseudo quick step, has started his sprint coming up the right. We're coming into about 150 meters to go. Alberto Danesi's taken over the front of the peloton, but he's got Caden Groves on his wheel. 100 meters to go. Caden Groves has started his sprint, but Johnny Milan and Tim Miller have come up too. 50 meters to go. They're 5 wide across the road. Caden Groves has got a shot at winning. Johnny Milan's got a shot at winning. Tim Miller's got a shot at winning. When we look over there, Alberto Danesi, his shot's starting to fade. In the Cofidis rider, and Annie Olakowski there, he's starting to fade too. So once we come into 10 meters to go, it's 3 wide now as we see a bike throw at the line, and then Tim Miller raises his hand to celebrate a victory here. Second sprint victory here at the Giro d'Italia 2024 for Pseudo Quickstep. Second on the stage, that's going to be Johnny Milan as he realizes when he crosses the stage, got a little shake in his head, and he's like, that's probably not too bad for second on today's stage, considering I was 15th, 20th position back there with 900 meters to go. But it was his teammates, Ed Toons and Simone Consoni, who did an amazing job at the front of the peloton to back the throttle off, cause a little chaos, and allow Johnny Milan to come from the back. Third on the stage, well, that's Caden Groves from Albacete de Kunik, who really had the best ride coming into the finish here on stage 18, along with Alberto Danese, because Matteo Trentin, oh man, and Robin from Two Door Cycling, you two guys were amazing for such a small team to come all the way into the last couple left turns here, still leading stage 18 in the Giro d'Italia. Alberto Danese had the lead for a little bit, Caden Groves for a little bit, but Tim Miller wins today stage 18 in fantastic style to beat none other than Johnny Milan from Lidl Trek. Now, when you start looking at the tactics, guys, it was a great race. It really was cool when you look at the last 400 meters there and you see all the Super Domestique, the last lead out guys for their sprinter, all looking back at the same time. And you see the sprinter Alberto Danese just looking completely forward with Caden Groves looking forward. And Hugo Hofstetter, man, hats off, tip of the hat to come from as far back as you did and be in the lead here for 50 meters at the end of today's stage 18. Great finish. Make sure you guys go back and watch the last 25K of today's stage 18. You will not be disappointed. It was exciting all the way to the finish. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'll see you guys for the next stage here of the Giro d'Italia, stage 19, coming real soon on the Butterfly Effect.